the kind of priesthood that is associated with Jesus, especially when we look in, for example, the epistle to the Hebrews, is not the Levite priesthood, but the Melchizedekian priesthood. And that is a priesthood that was associated actually with the line of David, because David conquers and takes over the city of Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 5, which Jewish tradition identified as the holy city founded by Melchizedek in Genesis 14, where Melchizedek is referred to as king of Salem, which was taken to be Jerusalem. So you do see, for example, that in the last verse of 2 Samuel 8 refers to David's sons as priests, Kohanim in Hebrew, which is the word for priest.
Mm-hmm.
And Psalm 110 says, "You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek." And that's a psalm that seems addressed by the court minstrel to the Davidic king.
Right.
So it seems like there was this Melchizedekian priesthood that was associated with the line of David. And that's what the epistle to the Hebrews associates with Jesus, rather than attempting to argue that, Jesus had Zadokite blood, back in his genealogy somewhere.
Right. Yeah, Margaret Barker, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she argues that there's this older priest king tradition, in the time of David, that gets written out by the Deuteronomists, but survives, I guess, in certain pockets of Judaism and the diaspora. And it's being, revived with the early Jesus movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a document in the scrolls called 11Q Melchizedek that presents an alternate eschatology in which you don't get a priestly Messiah and a royal Messiah. Instead, Melchizedek comes back.
Mm-hmm.
He's both king and priest, and he ushers in the end times Jubilee era that involves the forgiveness of sins and release from bondage to Satan.
Interesting.
And as I show in my book, the Gospel of Luke seems like it was written with that tradition in mind, because Jesus reads from Isaiah 61 at his first sermon at Nazareth, a text that was strongly associated in the Essene movement with the return of Melchizedek. And then Jesus claims to be the fulfillment of that passage, and then he follows it up by freeing people from Satan through exorcisms, and also even explicitly forgiving sin in the following chapter. So the Gospel of Luke, I really think that the Gospel of Luke was partly written to try to convert Essenes, because if you're looking for a priestly Messiah and a royal Messiah, then Luke gives those two figures to you in his opening chapters with John the Baptist, who has the credentials to be a priestly Messiah, and then Jesus, who's got the credentials to be a royal Messiah. But on the other hand, if you're expecting Melchizedek to come back, then Jesus is also presented to you as the eschatological Melchizedek. So whatever your eschatological preferences were, Luke shows you that, hey, Jesus has all the bases covered. Whatever you were expecting, he was it.
Right. That's interesting. So even in the Qumran community itself, there seemed to be
Diversity.
diversity. Yeah, exactly.